Hey, this is Mike McAdam for Gen X Guitar. Today we're going to talk about why players like Nuno and Warren Haynes use the Boss Octave pedal. So fun fact, the first effects pedal I ever bought in like the summer of 1987 was a Boss OC2 pedal. I saw a live video of Ace Frehley doing a solo and I was like, what is that cool effect? And a friend of mine's brother at the time, who was a pretty accomplished guitar player, was like, oh, that's just an Octave pedal. So I went running down to Daddy's Junkie Music, if anyone from New England remembers that place, and grabbed one of these, and I've had it ever since. But players like Nuno and Warren Haynes have used this pedal over the years to get some cool sounds from it. It's a very usable octave pedal. The thing I like about it is it doesn't drift off into synth type territory, although it gets kind of weird. One of the things about it is the tracking is certainly not perfect, and I think that's part of the charm of this pedal. So I'm going to show you a couple of different ways that I use it and what I think are the most usable ways to function in your guitar arsenal, because like I said, it can get out of hand pretty quickly if you start screwing around with it, and maybe that's half the fun, right? The way I typically have this pedal is there are two settings for it. There's one that produces an octave lower and 2 octave lower settings. The thing that's cool about that is if you're trying to imitate a bass line or get some of that kind of sub in it, it will allow you to do it. But the way I typically use it is I will put the 1 octave up to about 12 o'clock, turn the octave 2 setting down to 0, and then I will put the direct level switch just wherever I feel like it. It's usually sitting around 12 o'clock, and that sounds kind of like this. So I noticed mid-90s Nuno, a lot of Nuno's solo stuff that came out in the 90s, early 2000s. He seemed to really favor this pedal. It just kind of put this low-end presence on his riffs, and I thought that was a cool effect he was using for a while. Some solo stuff, you hear him messing around with that as well, and that's pretty typical to that setting. What I'm going to do is I'm actually going to put the 1 octave setting up to about 3 o'clock, and that's going to sound like this. That's one kind of sound you can get with it. You can also take that and start using it for leads, and that starts to drift into more how Warren Haynes would use that pedal, and here's an example of that. Anyway, so that's a cool effect that you can use on leads where it definitely thickens it up and it gets really sludgy and kind of slow sounding. So that's a neat effect. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to kick in the 2 octave setting, and speaking of sludgy, you're going to hear a lot more of that kind of effect, and it goes like this. All right, so that starts to drift into the who needs a bass player territory. I mean, who does need a bass player? I don't. And also it starts to almost sound synthy, where the tracking just gets really loose and flubby. It's a cool effect, but that's not typically how you hear this pedal used in its most musical context. But anyway, I just wanted to give a short review on this pedal. I've had it for a long time, since 1987, so obviously it's been pretty durable. And I find the sound of this to be pretty distinct. There are other octave pedals that are out there, but they don't quite have the same sound as this one, and I find it to be pretty usable after all these years. So that's my takedown of the Boss OC2 pedal. If you have used one of these and like it, leave some comments below. If you haven't subbed already, please consider doing so. It really helps the channel grow and allows us to keep making this kind of content, whether you like it or not. And my name's Mike. I will see you in the next video, and thanks for watching Gen X Guitar.